How's it going, everyone? Small here. So I want to apologize about not posting for the last 2 weeks now because it's been so hectic for me. Anywho, it's a new video here, and today I want to talk about one decision. Mm, this decision is it's like super specific that a lot of teams that are currently building wearable devices get it wrong. And the crazy part is about this one is like most of them never even realized they made this decision. And this one decision is like the difference between shipping your product in 6 months or shipping it in 18 plus months. So either way, it's gonna be the same product, but just like we're gonna be way, way longer. Like we're talking about 3 times more or longer. And all of that is just like because one call that nobody in the room thought was big deal at this specific time, like at your current time now. So, real quick before we get into it, this is probably not for you if you're just like getting started and you just like want a gentle little intro into wearables. I'm gonna go so deep here and I'm not gonna slow down for hype or for like hit the subscribe button type stuff. So, that's not just like what the channel is about, if you don't know yet. But if you're actually like building one of those specific things, like device that sits on your body, picks up some kind of signal, and then like does something with it in real time, or for example, if you're the person funding that thing and you just like want to understand what actually make these products go live or like gonna die, then yeah, you need to stick around and this one would be absolutely for you. Okay, so let me show you what I'm talking about here. And so basically is if you're gonna talk about either like 6 months or more than 18 months, that's the type of decision that we're talking about, which is super critical. We're talking about like 3 times more runaway if this decision was wrong, which is may cause many startups or businesses to fail because they are not able to fund that longer timeline. And all this is just like because of one simple decision here. So, and I actually like this is a decision I've actually built, like I've discovered from pattern recognition because I saw many teams, like smart teams. Some of them would ship super fast, some of them would take so long, and some of them even fail because they could not afford the huge like delay. And most of the times, like these products are like kind of similar. Like we're talking about same idea, close budget, a good engineering team on both sides, and yeah. Although all of that, as I told you, like still have this issue here. Um, and just like to clarify, the reason of this is not like some of the teams is smarter or or that one of them had more cash or something like that. It all come down to this one specific decision, and this specific decision is always made so early, either like the team realized it or not. And most of the times they made the decision by most teams made it by just like accident, by the wrong person even. So the question that I want you thinking about this whole video is super simple here. On your specific project now, which decisions are quietly deciding everything, and is the right person even in the room when they got made? Because this one usually isn't. So, here's what makes this one specific decision so sneaky, and it's not a decision that your software person would make, and it's not your hardware person. It's not even like your firmware person as well. And these are all great people, by the way. But each of them is really good at their own specific piece. But here's the thing about how teams are actually built. Here. So basically, we're gonna find like everybody owns a specific lane, So your software lead owns the AI model, your hardware lead like owns the circuit board, your firmware lead owns the code that runs the loop, and everybody got their own specific box. And this decision like doesn't live in anybody's box. So if you walk up to any of them and just like go ask them like, hey, who decided this specific thing? Every single one of them will say, honestly, not me, not my area, and all of them are telling the truth here because like nobody messed up, nobody was lazy here, and that's exactly why it's so hard to catch this specific thing. So now the person like who actually made the call here was whoever like designed the shape of the device in the first place. We're talking about like the physical housing, basically like the thing that you're gonna wear. So the person who figured it out, okay, like it has to sit like here on the body, so it's comfortable, so it looks good, so it doesn't fall off after 20 minutes. That's a comfort decision here, and it's a totally like fair one, like made for totally fair reasons, and it usually happens really early on, like way before anyone's even thinking about the signal or the software itself. But the this like specific like comfort decision decides in where the device physically sits, quietly deciding also like how hard the entire signal problem was gonna be. And nobody in the room like at that time knew about it because that's not what they were thinking about. The question was because like I mean, why would they? The question was about making it wearable, and so yeah, the gap here right here between basically the person who plays the sensor and the person who has to make sense of that. That's what I call the seam here. So I just like want you to hang on to that word because it's the whole point of this specific video here. So let me walk you through the actual order of how this usually happens because the timing is actually like the whole trap here. So let's say like in month 2, the physical design gets locked, and once you lock you lock the shape, you're gonna lock where the sensor sits, and that's I think should be obvious here because like you had to order the parts and start manufacturing. So let's say that's done, and by month 4 now you finally hire or maybe like assign the signal and software people, and somebody looks at the actual signal for the first time, and then somewhere around month 9 that person goes and just like gonna say, oh, wait a second, why is this so hard to work with? So I want you to think about what just happened here. So the signal, most important decision about your whole about your signal got made back in month 2 by a person who doesn't work on signals, doesn't have any experience about signals at all, and who had like no ideas about even like if they were making the decision in the first place. And I'm not here describing like some rare disaster or something like that because this is the normal path here when it comes to wearables, and this is what happens by default. And basically like your whole goal is like to fight so this don't end up here. Okay, so now real quick, let me make sure we're picturing the same thing here so everything's clear. Basically like any device like this, when you're gonna boil it down, just like gonna loop that basically just like a loop that's gonna repeat over and over. So step 1 is gonna sense, basically it's gonna pick up a signal from your body. Step 2 is gonna decide, so at this step just like gonna figure out what's actually happening right now in real time. Step 3 is gonna like act on that. So basically it does something back to your body and then it's gonna loop. And here's what makes these devices genuinely hard here, because it's like three things piling up at once. So first, that loop runs through a living person, and the person isn't something steady or like predictable machine. So you change from basically that thing like change from minute to minute. Second thing, and this is like weird one actually, which is like the device own action changes the very signal it's trying to read in the first place. This thing is like it's like trying to take your own pulse while running. So basically, like your action messes with the measurement. And third thing is like this whole thing has to run on a tiny battery. We're talking like a coin cell and on a ship that you picked a year and a half ago that you can swap out now. And basically, it's like you bought the engine and the gas tank before you even like finished the design of the car, and now basically you're gonna be stuck with both of these. So like hard problems, and all crammed into something the size of a coin. And basically, here's the key idea. This these devices almost never fail because one of those four problems was too hard. The reason they fail is it's because like the cracks between two of them, basically like, and these are like the place where nobody would be like looking at all. And today we're gonna look at one specific crack here. So let's start with sensing. So because like everything after it is stuck with whatever this step hands over. So basically you're gonna put a sensor on the skin to pick up a signal. Yeah, so basically this sounds simple, right? And here's the actual problem here. So that signal is unbelievably tiny. We're talking a few millionth of volt. I mean, now at the same time, there's this constant electrical hum all around you, and this thing like comes from the power in your walls, the wiring, the lights, all of these things. Also, like your body, turns out, it actually like turns out to act like an antenna. So it's gonna literally pick up the hum up. So what's gonna happen is like your sensor isn't just like seeing your tiny signal, it's seeing your tiny signal riding on top of a hum that can be 1,000 times bigger. And here I want you like to picture trying like to hear someone whisper to you at a super loud concert. That whisper is actually the signal here. The concert is everything else, the whole environment around that person, and that's the actual situation. So, and that happens like every single time. And there's like spec engineers use like here's like spec engineers would use for how well your circuit would gonna deal with this specific thing. And this thing is actually called common mode rejection. So this term sounds a little bit fancy, but if you're gonna like just like explain what actually means, is just like me, how good is your circuit at throwing away the noise that's basically hitting both sensor wires equally, and at the same time keeping only the real difference that you care about. Like, in other words, how to define, like basically how good is your circuit to capture the real signal and ignore all the noise. That's it. And here's the part that I really need you to remember here, because like the whole video hangs on this specific thing. Like whether your sensor and the like first little circuit throw away is gone, like for good, you cannot get it back later with software. So I want you to think about like a photo. So if it comes out blurry when you snap it, there is no amount of editing it's gonna make it like sharp again. I mean, yeah, there are some fancy tools to expand it further and further, but you will not get the real picture here because it's gonna always stay a little bit blurry, even like with AI systems and software now, etc. Let's not get so deep into that thing. The reason, because like the reason of this issue is like the details was never captured in the first place, and basically here's the same deal. So if that first stage loses your signal in the noise, then even like the smartest AI or machine learning systems on the planet can't actually rescue it, because honestly, like there's nothing left to work with in the first place, and it's gonna just like read some static and some static things and gonna pretend it's signal. Okay, now the first two facts, and these two facts are going to multiply together into the whole problem. So fact one, like your signal comes from a specific place and it's strongest right there. So I want to think about this one. So the signal is being made by something inside your body, or the person who's gonna wear this body, and just like specific one spot. And honestly, like to reach the skin where your sensor is, it has to travel out through a tissue, etc. And also, like as it travels through that, it spreads out and gets weaker and weaker. It's kind of like flashlight. So basically, let's say like flashlight under a thick blanket. So it's gonna be like super bright right above the bulb, and just like gets dimmer and fuzzier like further we go out. So there's like one specific spot on the body where your signal is as strong and clean as it will ever be, and that place is actually right on top of the source, and everywhere else it's gonna be weak. And here's like the important part here. So you don't get to choose where that spot is. It's set by human anatomy, and it is what it is. So just like burn this in. There's loudest spot for your signal, and its location is fixed, and that location is now your collateral. Okay. Now, let's talk about the second fact here. So basically, um, where you're actually gonna put the sensor is a comfort decision, and your device basically sits where it's gonna fit nicely, where it's gonna be more comfortable to wear every single day or maybe like every single night, where it's gonna maybe look right and stays put, and that specific spot is chosen for comfort, and almost and like 99% of the times it was never gonna be chosen for specific single. And I remember why. So from a few minutes ago, the people choosing that spot aren't the signal people, and they just like shows it before the signal people even showed up in the first place. So now, like line up these two facts. There's the so basically like there's the loudest spot for your signal, which is like fixed spot by the body, and there's where you're actually listening, which is whatever the device happens to be comfortable most. And here's the specific thing here. So these two spots usually not the same place. Um so for like your microphone, so to speak, is comfortable, but it's not gonna be sitting next to the speaker, if you understand what I mean. And here's the move that ties it all together. So let's say like you're gonna take these two specific facts and just like multiply them. So the loudest spot, which is actually fixed, and where you're gonna actually place the sensor, which was a comfort call. And the gap basically between those two is how much of your signal you're gonna lose before you even start. So for from engineering perspective, this thing called attenuation, and in simpler words, just like means how much weaker the signal got on its way to your sensor, and that specific number here is like how much you're gonna lose of the signal. It's gonna decide what kind of software you need to make to actually like make this thing work at all. And it's just like I want to be really, really clear here, because the claim is way bigger than it sounds. So, like that specific placement decision doesn't just cost you a little bit of signal. Like we're not talking about some little bit of signal quality gonna like just go down and you just like can patch it up later. It's basically gonna decide whether you're gonna build one kind of product or completely different kind of product in the first place. And this thing, like the loudest spot times where you place the sensor, is actually like the signal that most important, and it's like the single most important decision on this whole project and this like whole product building. And on like unfortunately, I like most teams, nobody actually makes the decision. Just like falls out on its own from two totally reasonable choices that nobody ever connected together. Nobody put the piece together and sit and say, yeah, you need to put here. And so that would cause many problems and huge delay, especially in this like type of products, like wearable products. And let me make it more real for you. So because like you can actually put a number on it. Let's say let's take the flashlight under the blanket example back. So as we said, like it's gonna be like super bright in the middle and it's gonna fade as you go out. The signal strength is gonna work the same way. So it's gonna drop off the further your sensor is from the loudest spot. So if like your sensor is close to that spot and basically like look at this case A here. So the signal is gonna show up strong and clear, and you've got a lot of options. But if your sensor is far from it, let's say this signal B here. So what's gonna happen is like the same signal is gonna show up way weaker and tangled up with all the other noise that we talked about, and suddenly your options is gonna shrink way more. And honestly, like none of this like is magic or some guesswork. You can just like look up roughly where your signal is loudest, and also like you can know where your sensor gonna sit. That way, like you can actually estimate how much you're gonna lose between these two placements. And that's like the whole point I want you to take from this specific slide here. So this is like this is a number that you can actually figure out on whiteboard in just like maybe one afternoon, and it's not something that you're gonna like you're supposed to be surprised by let's say month 9 or month 10. Yeah, basically like which side of this curve you're gonna land on decides the next slide, which is like honestly like the real big one here. So now here's like the actual fork in the road here. So this is like the center of this whole thing. Now let's assume that you already figured out this number that we talked about, the attenuation part, like how far your wearable gonna be from the actual signal on the body. And now this like number gonna sit on like crossroad here, and it's gonna determine which path you should actually take here. So that number, which as I told you, like to gonna determine how much signal you're gonna lose, and that number is actually gonna decide whether you actually need learned AI model at all or not. And now let me explain these two specific paths for you, so you can understand what you should do in your specific case. So let's start by talking about road 1. So let's say you didn't lose much, the signal is actually strong at your sensor. In that specific case, what you can do is like you can very often just track it directly with just like straightforward math. And here's like what actually like track it means in just like simple plain terms. So basically it's like clapping along to a song. So if you already know the beat, you don't just like need to learn anything at all. You just like need to follow the rhythm that's already there. And that's a tracker, not AI thing. You don't need like to train any data, and this thing can work today. The second road is actually you're gonna lose a lot of the signal. The signal is gonna be super weak and buried. And now you actually you might genuinely need to use an AI model here to dig it, or machine learning model to dig it back out. And here's what that actually means in plain terms. So instead of just like, let's say the previous one was just clapping along the beat that you already know, for this one you have to record thousands of songs and train a system to just like even recognize what a beat is in the first place. And that's the whole goal, the like role of the model here. And like the second that you're gonna go through this specific road here, you need data, like a lot of it. And like everything that comes with collecting data, also like a lot of work, I mean. And here's like the thing that most teams are actually gonna miss. These two specific roads aren't something like this is okay and this is better. No, that's not the case at all. These are two like these like we're talking about things that are not at the same thing at all. Basically, these are two different crossroads, and they're going to lead to completely different companies. And let me show you exactly why that is. So first, let me take the tracker road first, because most people is going to just like rush right past it, and honestly, they shouldn't. So for example, if your signal has a rhythm that you can actually follow, let's say pattern that's already there, and you just like build, basically what's gonna do is you can just like build something that follows it. And just like look what you get here. So you don't need any data. Because as I explained earlier, just like clap into music or rhythm that you already know. So you don't need to collect anything. You're just like following a beat that already exists, and you don't have to worry about the thing breaking on new people, because it's not guessing based on who's it's seen before. Just like following the actual signal in front of it right now. And this thing is gonna like just like work today, because it doesn't depend on anything that you haven't built yet. So everything, the path here is super clear, super simple, and I want to be straight with you here. So this road is actually have also drawbacks, not just something that is totally free and you just like can do it simply. So because like following a rhythm in real time has its own tricky parts as well. And honestly, there's like one really nasty trap here that I'm gonna just like dedicate a whole separate video to it, because it requires one. Because I've seen many teams who went through this path and they failed super bad, and they had to raise a lot of capital to just like keep things going. But yeah, basically like the big picture holds here. So if the signal gives you a rhythm to follow, you just like got to work in product today, and you can always add the fancy AI later. That's like something that's not like something critical to your system in the first place. So basically like you're gonna already have a winning product and just like add that to the bonus, not something that you're gonna stop waiting for. And now let's talk about the second road here. So, and I want you to slow way down here, because this is where the like one extra year disappears here. So the instinct these days is to just like reach for the AI model first, because that's like the modern reflex now. And honestly, it's usually what got promised to the investors, and because like yeah, the AI hype, etc. And it's usually what got like here's like what nobody says out loud here, because like every AI piece you drop into your device isn't actually a feature at all. It's just like chain of things that you now owe. Let me walk you on like chain like with you here, because it's like dominoes. So let's say like the model is gonna need data to learn from. That's like data that you has to collect from like real people wearing the device. And collecting it's gonna need like working hardware to collect it on. Then there are some like ways to solve this. We can talk about it in a different video. Then like collecting it, basically like as I told you, we're gonna require most of the times hardware to collect it on. Then you're gonna need like time to actually train the thing, and then you're gonna inherit like a specific problem called drift, which like in simple terms means the model learned from one group of people and slowly gets worse as it gonna meet new people that they never seen. Or maybe like even like the same person gonna like act weird if on like maybe weird nights when let's say for example signal got a little bit blurred. I don't know, for example, maybe the person that night got super drunk or something, and that thing changed the human's physiology, or maybe he changed the location where he stayed and there's a lot of noise. There are many reasons why the signal can get blurred, and the AI model can drift drastically and give totally bullshit result. This case, and then from the let's say like at the very end here, you basically gonna be left holding a system that even you can't actually fully explain. It's just like looks like a black box, and that black box now you need to actually defend to an investor who's going to ask you for sure like this specific one hard question that you don't even have a clean answer for. So here's the takeaway from here. So count the AI pieces in your device, and basically like every single one that you're gonna add, it's not actually a feature here, it's actually a delay, it's actually like a technical risk that you're adding to the product, and it's actually also like one more thing that's gonna stand between you and actually shipping this product to the market. And it's not free box that you can just like get to check. Okay, so now let's put the actual like two rows that we talked about here. Where is it? Yeah, these two rows, let's put them now aside, like side by side, and you'll see actually that it's not really a technical choice here. It's actually choice about like what kind of company you actually gonna become. So first one is gonna be like the track or company. So this one's gonna ship now with like no data. And the hard part of their specific job is actually the signal math, and that's a known solvable thing. For their risk, it's actually small and predictable. And they need just like one really good signal engineer, and also like when investors come poking around, the product actually makes sense, you can explain it. And on the other hand, like if you're gonna talk about the model company, or like the company that requires not just like needs, but actually requires having AI model in their stack, so they can actually capture the signal, etc., and filter it from all the noise that we talked about. For these specific folks, like the only thing like they cannot ship before having the data ready already. It's actually like date that literally nobody can promise. And the hard part of their specific job is actually collecting the data and training the AI model, which is technically like it's like an open-ended quest here. So also like there's no clear finish line here that you can say, okay, we can ship this by X date. It's a little bit more trickier. When it comes to their risk, it's about like that drift problem that we talked about, which actually can drag on forever if they don't have like the right expertise on place. Also, like they need the whole data and AI team, and for these people, like when investors come poking, they basically like they've got systems that they can't fully explain, sitting at the center of everything, like a black box. So like for both of these, as you can see, like they have both like the same product idea on the whiteboard, but when it comes to the burn rate, it's like totally different. We're talking about like totally different timelines, and these would require totally different teams. So even like totally different level of risk. That's why I told you like each one of these are actually two different companies. And let's say if you're gonna pick like between those two, let's say like most of the time, like most teams when it comes to building wearable technologies, the choice between these two is not something that they made intentionally. It's actually something that happens by accident, and usually that happens in month two, something like that, because one simple thing, which is like where's the device gonna fit comfortably to wear. And honestly, like it's kind of insane when you say this out loud. Like the whole fate of the company and whether you're gonna be able to ship the product, or maybe you need like to raise more rounds, or even like you risk failing, is dependent on this like simple decision that most companies don't do even like intentionally here. Unfortunately, that this is the default state, and that what happens like when nobody stop it. You'll just like be gambling here. So now, here's like the yeah. Let's talk about the specific trap that is gonna like hide inside specifically like row two, which is having like an AI model in place. That actually I want you to really see it here, not just like on surface level. I want you to actually understand what this actually means. Because honestly, like most teams that just like would walk right into this without even noticing, which is actually like looks like a circle. So as you can see, like basically the AI model needs data. The data has to come from real people who are on the device, but like actually like to have people where the device has to be built in the first place, and the device isn't built yet because you're still designing it, and part of what you're still designing is the actual AI that needs the data in the first place. It's like, see, the loop's like chicken and egg situation, so tricky. And the thing that you try to finish depends on data, which depends on the finish like thing, and basically that's like snake eating out its own tail, and nobody actually planned this thing, just like quietly assembled itself out of bunch of random decisions or that seemed reasonable, which actually, yeah, I mean, having like something comfortable to wear for the user is a kind of reasonable decision on a surface level, but the consequences of that is can be this drastic. Um, so the right here, like the shape of the actually what's gonna happen for most teams in this situation, which like what causes a product launch from being just like to launch the product in maybe 8 months to get it dragged to 18 months up. And this is like the second path of the product, which may be your actual situation right here now. And basically like the same product at the 6 month version, but with way more risk and more complexity. Yeah. So now let me actually like now play the whole thing back for you. Let's start from the beginning to the end, and let's walk through this in order. So for month two, the device shape gets locked for comfort, and like at that time, there's no signal team yet to say anything about that specific decision. And by, let's say, month nine, the signal team finally has hardware and data in place. And by that time, they just like realize that the signal is actually weak at that specific spot where the device is actually sitting. And now let's say month nine plus, what are they gonna do? They gonna do like the natural, the more reasonable thing here. They're gonna reach for an AI model to make up for the weak signal. And let's say after like month 12 and beyond, the sudden issue is gonna be like just like it's gonna be like something huge, like big data collection project that nobody planned in the first place, and it's just like sitting right in the middle of the road. And basically, like now launch the date slides full year. And here's what actually I want you to notice here. So through all this, nothing crashed. There's no alarm went off, and honestly, like nobody from your team would be doing like anything wrong when it comes to their specific job. Basically, like most of the times, what I've seen is like everyone, like many smart teams, like have very smart and competent team members, and like everyone actually like made a reasonable decision based on their specific spot. But yeah, but like now the company honestly believe, and what's gonna happen like now the company is gonna believe that it has actually an AI problem. So basically now it's gonna spend the next year just trying to fix an AI problem. That yeah, that's the tragedy of the situation when it comes to building wearable products. Okay, now let me just say the thing that now straight out. So most of the time, like most of the teams were based on what I've seen is they think they have an AI problem. So basically, I want to say this out loud. You don't have an AI problem. What you have actually is like a placement problem. And that problem, as you've seen so far, it's something that it's like an intentional decision that was made by Mouse 2. And that decision, like based on that decision consequences, now turned out that turned into something that maybe requires an AI solution because nobody caught that problem at the right time. And here's actually like why that matters so much for you because let's say it's like going to the doctor with a broken bone, but instead like if the doctor treating the broken bone is it's gonna treat you for the bruise, which absolutely is gonna be like wrong diagnosis here and wrong treatment in the first place, and you're just like gonna be wasting a lot of time and a lot of money while like the real actual thing never gets fixed in the first place. And for a specific case like here, if you're building such a solution, if you're gonna treat this as an AI problem, then what you're gonna do is basically you're gonna go hire AI people, you're gonna buy expensive computers, you're gonna try like run a lot of computations, which requires a lot of burn capital to train the model, and like basically what you're gonna do is most likely you're gonna grind for maybe a year, maybe more, maybe you're gonna like raise more funds, maybe now your burn rate is astronomically insane. And honestly like just like you're trying to pull out a signal that was never really was actually like feels like it was never really there to begin with. But if you see this like for what it actually is, if you actually go back and maybe like zoom out a little bit and you see the actual problem here, which is actually a placement problem, and if you're gonna catch it like really early on, like early enough at least, the fix is gonna be so simple, and it's gonna be like moving the sensor a couple of centimeters, that's it, or maybe like adding a second sensor. It's not gonna be super complicated like that. And basically, in other words, if you're gonna cut it early, it's gonna be just like some sample, like maybe a small hardware change, and it's gonna just like take you days of work, and it's not gonna take you like a year-long AI project with a huge and astronomical burn rate. So both of these have actually like look on the surface like they have the exact symptom, but the cost of this is widely different, and the only thing that decides which one you're gonna pay is whether you actually correctly name the problem in the first place. Okay, so now you may be actually asking like why does nobody catch this in the first place? And I want to be clear with you, because it's not because the reason of this is not because like anybody had like they are bad at their job. The reason of this is actually this decision lives in the gap between the layers, or like the gaps that between each team member role. So like on one side, you've got the hardware and design team, and for this team members, for them like they own where the sensor sits. On the other side, like you've got the signal and maybe like the AI team, and for these they own the software side. And like the decision like that actually matters. I want you to remember this, like where you're gonna place the sensor decides where, like what software you actually need. And that specific decision is actually sits in the empty space or between like the gap of these two teams. And honestly, like this decision that does not belong to either of them. Each team like was gonna make like a call that was completely correct and completely reasonable for their specific side. So the design team is gonna make the wearable comfortable. The signal team is gonna build the best software that they could for the signal that they were handed. So basically, like both of them is gonna do a good work, and the product still got decided wrong because the main reason of that decision, as I told you, is sitting in the gap. Basically, it's like sitting in the hallway between two different offices where, like, literally nobody was standing in the first place. Okay, and just like also, I want to clarify something that they were not paying. Like, it's not like they were not paying attention to this because they genuinely cannot see it here. So let me try to explain this more for you, like from both sides. So for the AI team side, like they cannot see it because they have no idea that the placement is what made the signal weak. And from where they sit, what the situation there is, like the signal is just like hard, and for that specific situation, then the most obvious and the most logical solution is actually reaching for an AI model. That's actually like a correct move for such type of solution, such type of problems like hard signals. And given like what they actually see from the problem, they're absolutely right. And if you're gonna look at the design team, basically they cannot see it because they have no idea their comfort decision. Like it's gonna shrink the software options down to almost nothing. And from where they actually sit as well, it was a comfort call, and they had to make it like because that's the best way to design the product from their specific point of view, which to be the most comfortable thing for the user. Um, Basically now like so to actually like see this specific problem, what you need to do is you need to have like you have to hold two totally different words, two totally points of view, two totally like perspectives in your head at the same moment. We're talking about like the physics of the signal and the constraints of the physical design, and like honestly, like a team was built out of deep specialists. By its very nature of the thing, what's gonna happen is like nobody whose job is gonna like have that overlap. So everybody's gonna look down at their own specific piece, and nobody's gonna look at the space between, and that what causes these type of problems to happen. So now this like after saying this, like now this brings me to the one line that I really want you to walk away with. So basically, you can't hire a gap. Let me explain what I mean here. So you can hire depth for sure, yeah, but basically like you can go get the best hardware person possible, the best AI person possible, the best firmware person, and honestly like absolutely you should do that. That's the best thing to do. But when it comes like to depth, doesn't basically depth doesn't fill the gaps. And because like a gap isn't something that inside anybody's area, it's actually like something that like it's the empty space between different areas. And honestly like if you're gonna see that like stacking more expertise inside each area would do nothing for the space between them. And like we just like saw previously, the decision that decides your whole timeline lives in that specific gap. So like my advice here, if you want to take it at least, is at least once before like you spend huge money and like lock things in, at least like somebody has to stand in that specific gap on purpose. And for that person, it does not mean that he's way smarter than all the specialists that you have. You don't need that, and honestly, like it's not possible anyway because each one of them spent decades on their specific arena. So you don't need someone like who's like spent, I don't know, 50 years or working across all of them. That's not the point here. Basically, you just like need someone who like who have understanding of each of them and actually can stand in the hallway between the offices, between the place between all the gaps of each expert, and ask the questions that actually like fall through the cracks. And honestly, for this specific role, it's actually a completely different job that any of the deep experts are gonna have. And honestly, like if like nobody has this specific role, then it doesn't get done. And what's gonna happen is this thing is just like gonna be decided by accident. And accident, like we've now watched played out, is usually wrong, and you don't want to bet your whole company on some on decision that's gonna be made on accident. All right, so think enough about the problem. Now let me give you the actual fix. And honestly, like the best part is that you can do this before you even like lock in your whole design, which is the whole point of this whole thing. So you're gonna have like 4 steps. This is like the whole fix, super simple. So first thing is you need to figure out where your signal is strongest on the body. You can usually look this up, I mean, or even like you can measure this quickly. It's not a big issue. Second thing, which is like figure out where your device actually puts the sensor. Step 3 is gonna be like estimate how far apart those 2 spots are. And like for step 4, which is like the big one, it's you need to make a decision on actually purpose here out loud with actually like both your hardware people and your signal people and in the same room, which is like which road you're gonna be taking here, which that's the whole thing. You need like to make compromise, either make a device at least, yeah, based on the 2 paths that I showed you before. So all depends on the where the signal is strongest for your specific wearable case, and where it's more comfortable like for the user. The sweet spot between 2 is what's gonna decide which path you're gonna build your company on, and which risk you need to mitigate, etc., etc., etc. Basically, like that's it. Like basically, this is like the whole solution for this thing, and you need to do this in the beginning. Like we're talking month 1, month 2, not just like delaying this till month 9, so we don't have any accidents. And basically, like, yeah, you need to make this decision on purpose, and that's the whole point of this video here. So also, like, let me give you like simple rule here that you're gonna see in step 4 specifically. So if you're only losing a little bit of signal, like follow it, and honestly just skip the AI here. So what you can do is actually build the simple tracker. You can ship it now with no data, and you can actually keep the fancy AI in your back pocket for later on as an extra feature that you can build on later to enhance your actual technology or your actual product. And that's absolutely if you actually need it in the future. And second case, if you're actually like losing a lot of signal, then maybe okay, then you may need to commit to the AI model, but at least you need to make that decision on purpose here. Because right now with at least like you need to make it like, yeah, right now with your eyes open, not just like something that something that's gonna decide your company's future, which is gonna be like on some fucking accident decision. Don't do that. So basically plan the data collection. If you're gonna go through that path, then you need to plan the data collection from month 1, and you need to put that on the schedule as actually like the big long thing that it actually is, because it's gonna be super complicated to get that right. And you need to hire the right people for that. And yeah, and it's also like another thing, which is like most people always forget this option is even on the table first place, which is like what you can do is you can push back on where the sensor would gonna actually go, and which is something that you can actually like change, and not something that that's already locked, specifically like if you're talking about the first month of the product design. And a lot of the time, like moving just like the simper, like the sensor, just a little bit more, which may like cause, let's say, negligible discomfort for the user, but just like for the simple thing, it may save you like talking like entire year-long AI project and astronomical bill for the AI training. Basically, like yeah, the only reason like nobody moves the sensor is simply like by the time they realize that they should did that, the design already is locked, and everything is actually too late now. So at least like either way, the point of this is like you need to decide this on purpose, and with everybody, like all specialists should be in the room here, and that's like the whole ball game. That's the whole point of this video. So now let me be actually straight with you here about where this stops being true, because I know you're smart here. No, I mean it's not like everyone's gonna build like wearable technology company. It's not something super simple like some AI slop companies like startups. Anywho, I know that you're gonna check my work, and like, and at least I wanted to hear the limits from you here, because like this whole approach is gonna assume that your signal actually has clear patterns that you can actually follow, and honestly, like sometimes it just doesn't. And in that case, the AI model isn't something that lazy reflects. It's actually the only possible and the right tool to use. So yeah, in that case, then yeah, just go build it. There's like one more thing that I have to be careful about here, which is like on the treatment side of these specific devices. So there's good science showing that if you nudge the body with the right little signal at exactly the right moment, you can actually like boost natural rhythm in the body. That part is actually solid. It's been shown like over and over by different labs for years, but then there's a second thing, which is like a bigger claim that maybe like boosting that rhythm actually makes people think better or maybe remember better, and that specific claim does not hold up cleanly. So there are like some solid studies where they boosted the rhythm just fine, and it made no real difference to how people actually performed. So just in case if you're gonna build something like that, here's the honest way to talk about it. Claim the part that's proven, the physical effects, and just like be upfront that the bigger benefit is still up in the air. And honestly, I'm not just saying this like to be cautious for the sake of it. I'm just like saying it because that honestly is exactly what separates claim that's gonna survive smart investors questions from just like one that's gonna fall apart the second they're gonna push on what you said. And I think you don't want to be in the second place where investors think you're just like bullshitting them. That usually does not end up well. So if like you forget everything else from what we talked about so far, I want you just to keep these three main things. Number one, use up the simple physics before you reach for AI. Basically, like every AI piece is a thing that you think you owe. It's not some like free feature that you can add. So at least like count them before you commit to them. Number two, the decisions that decides your product liability gaps between different teams. So nobody owns these specific decisions, and most of the time they will get decided by accident, unless somebody actually stand up in the gap on purpose. And number three, make the placement call early and make it actually on purpose. Also, like do that little check where like the signal is strongest, where the actual sensor, how much do we actually lose, and do all of that before you look into design. And at least you should do that before you're already like a month nine, when it's already turned into a year of work. So that's it. Use the physics first, watch the gaps, and decide on purpose. Okay, so that little check I just gave you will get you will get like most of the teams where they need to go. I mean that literally here. So just like run it, and most of the time you'll just like catch yourself this like by yourself. You don't need any help at all. And where it actually gets hard is the judgment call at the specific edges, like when your design's already locked and now that you can move the sensor, or like the signal right like now right on the line, where it's not obvious where like whether you can get away with the simple version, or you actually like really need to use AI in that case. And honestly, like if there's like real money riding on getting that specific decision right before you commit, which is like the case for most of the time, then that's the part that's genuinely hard, and that's the part that I actually do for people. So if that's where you're stuck right now, and basically like you know where you find me, you can find my email on the chat. You can also like reach me via LinkedIn. Otherwise, seriously, just like go around the shack, and basically that's the first type of the video. I'm gonna make many more videos about wearable technologies. I'm gonna dedicate the whole series for just like this specific type of product. So if you're interested about that, just like stay tuned and see you in the next video. Bye.